My name is Ben. I am a senior cloud architect for Cloudway. I'm here to talk about location inside Teams. Now, this is probably the third year that I've run this session here, so apologies to anybody who, sat through this last time. You at least maybe came back voluntarily. I don't know. But what we're going to talk about is a whole kind of mishmash of stuff. I think I pitched this at about a level 300, something like that. But this isn't intended to be a deep dive into each of these specific areas. It's more kind of showing you what kind of information you might need to support some of the location-related services. If there's any kind of questions or stuff, we can kind of save that to the end. But speaking of the end, I have a favor to ask when we get there. You'll hopefully, there'll be a few people left in the room and you can help me out with something that's quite important. Before we get into that, you've seen this on all of the slides. Thank you very much to everybody who sponsored this. They make it all happen. If you haven't gone and seen people, please go see them, because hopefully we get to come back next year to, whatever the version of this might look like. In terms of the agenda, the first time I ran this, there's a program in Channel 4 over in the UK called Location, 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 where they go have two people who are buying a house and they try out different places. And I had that up as my image, and I figured that didn't translate very well. So I'm just saying it myself, that we are talking about location and location, some networking kind of stuff in there as well, because you'll see that is very relevant to what we are doing with location, and then a little bit more about location as well. So why do we care about location? First of all, a little bit of kind of level setting with how we go about configuring stuff in Teams, and then understanding how that can be changed based on the location of the user. So we have settings, which are tenant level configuration items, right? We have Teams meeting settings. You make that change in there, and that applies to all of the users across your environment. If you need to do something different for different users, you use policies, and you assign those policies either through policy templates, policy group assignment, whatever it may be, but a user has a policy, and if they don't, they have the global policy, and that is a specific set of settings that apply to that user. So we've got tenant level stuff, and we have policy level stuff. Now, that helps you with the kind of consistency of configuration, so you know what everybody has. But there are some scenarios where we might want to change the behavior based on where the user is going to be. That is what we're kind of covering at a reasonable pace potentially today. So I've got this sort of split into two sections. We're going to talk about the kind of things that location might affect. So that is going to be our emergency calling, stuff to do with call routing, a little bit of stuff about call quality, and then a little bit about planning. But planning is kind of last, because it's not really something that many people use, possibly. I'd be interested in a show of hands when we get there, how many people have played with that. But emergency calling is kind of first on the list, because this is the main place that location kind of comes into play. Like I said, this is not intended to be a deep dive into dynamic E911. I always feel like I'm cheating as a Brit at the front of the room talking to a mostly US audience about E911, because it's quite a complex subject. There's a lot of kind of legality and things to consider around that. So, I have helped customers do this deployment, but, I still feel like a cheat and a bit of an imposter when I'm talking about this, but then I imagine most people in the room feel like imposters quite a lot of the time as well. So why do we care about location when we're dealing with emergency calling? We need to make sure that whoever is responding to the emergency is coming from somewhere where they are able to do that, right? And that used to be fairly straightforward in the kind of legacy telephony days, where somebody had their phone at their desk, they placed a call, you knew what the DDI associated with that desk phone was, you knew where that was being used. In Teams, we've got a different challenge, because that user could be signed in multiple locations, they could be on a VPN from home, they could be not on a VPN from home, they could be in Starbucks, they could be on conference hotel Wi-Fi, whatever. So we need to pay attention to how we can make sure that it is someone who is able to help, available to respond to that. If we're using direct routing, we may need to change how we are going to send that call to the PSTN, right? So again, we can use some stuff to do with the location to make sure we're directing that to an SBC that is maybe got extra configuration or something on it to deal with that emergency handling. And again, I haven't got it in here as a quick level setting, but we will talk a tiny bit about calling plans and direct routing and Operator Connect. I'm sure everyone knows, but just to be clear, calling plans is when you're buying your PSTN from Microsoft. Direct routing is where you have some form of gateway that either you run or a provider is running on your behalf, but you have kind of this voice router that you can do lots of complicated stuff with. And you have Operator Connect, where it's similar to calling plans. You just sign up to a provider and they inject stuff into the Teams tenant for you, and then you allocate and deal with numbers. And there's kind of gradients of complexity around how you might handle and deal with location stuff. They're giving away prizes next door. You guys really picked the wrong room. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Dolly. And then the last thing is, like, do we need to do anything else related to the fact that an emergency call has been made? Do we need to notify people? Do we need to, make sure building security are aware that someone has placed the 911 call? And again, location plays into that, because if the user isn't in that building, then we don't want to notify that building security, because they'll be running around trying to figure out what's going on in a somewhere that it's not relevant. So how do we deal with emergency calling? There are a few kind of core pillars that sit across some of these location services stuff, but as you'll see when we get to the end of the presentation, this is not a nice, neat, joined up story, right? There are three things that overlap with each other, and when we're talking about location, I've got a horrible slide at the end that shows you kind of all of the different bits of information that you might need to gather relating to all of the different things. My hope might be that one day we'll have like a lovely GUI and you can like maybe places, put that just makes it worse. Put your buildings and your addresses in and what information is associated with that, and like whoomph, it'll go in there. And each year I think to myself, like, that would be a really awesome power app. Maybe I should do some work with that. Maybe with Alexander at the back there, who's works with me and is great at like designing and building all that kind of stuff. But it just the year goes by and I never actually managed to do anything. So first thing on our list is there is a thing called the trusted IP address. That is used to determine if you are inside your company network, right? So when you're going through and troubleshooting any of these location things, trusted IP is always the top thing. We'll come on to kind of how these work and what they look like in a second. Second one is there is a service called LIS, Location Information Services. That is like, if you are internal, now where are we actually going to geographically place you? That is the one that deals with which address or location or place or civic address, depending on if you're in PowerShell or if you're in TAC, you're being placed into. That's where you have like a real world address and latitude and longitude coordinates associated with a physical location. And then network settings, again, we'll sort of see where else these apply. But network settings covers, how and where is the call going to be sent. So that stuff about like if we're using direct routing, which SBC are we going to talk to, how are we going to notify people, that comes out of the network settings portion. And some of this kind of configuration settings overlap with each other. So if we take a look at trusted IP, what I'll do, you might have seen, like if you were in early, that I had TAC open and TAC was doing the lovely spinning coggy thing. My plan was that I was going to kind of just whiz through it and then go into TAC and kind of show how some of these things hang together, but it might be that we're sort of stuck with some of the screenshots. I do have backup screenshots. So trusted IP address. The reason you have the trusted IP address, like I say, is it's the public IPs that are associated with your organization, right? So Teams knows when you connect to it what IP it is seeing your connection come from. Not your internal IP, but the IP of your corporate edge firewall. And so what you do in TAC is you add in those public IPv4 or IPv6 ranges so that when Teams sees my connection coming to it from a match, it knows that, hey, you're coming from a location that is associated with a company, and therefore I will continue to do the other processing in there, like LIS and the network stuff. So kind of a best practice or a thing to do here is, even if you have, out of maybe a subnet with like, 12, 20, whatever IPs in it, don't just put down whatever your primary kind of natted address is. Just put the block in there, and then it means that if anybody pops up on a subnet that goes through the firewall in a different way, or something like that, you're still catching them in this filter. And again, when you're troubleshooting this stuff, if you have to, which you probably will at some point, that is the first hurdle. And you will see, if you get into the nitty-gritty Teams logs, you'll see that you'll have like a trusted IP matched or unmatched. If it's unmatched, that's why none of the rest of it did anything, okay? Again, a note about my slides. What I've tried to do is there is also whatever the PowerShell commandlets are associated with these things. I've tried to make these slides so that they are useful after the conference, so if you get hold of them, there are kind of bonus slides in there that have a whole bunch of kind of information crammed in, which would be really boring if I read them out to you, so sorry when I do that. But the intention is that that's kind of reference information for later on. But here for PowerShell, it is CS tenant's trusted IP address, and by verb, I mean that's, you know, your get, set, add, remove, whatever it may be. And it will vary, but again, on the docs.microsoft or learn.microsoft, you can find kind of the specific stuff in here. So if you're doing it through PowerShell, you would put in the IP address and then the masked bits, which is kind of equivalent to what we have over in TAC there. Hello. No, so it would be like /24 or whatever. So you can see on the little hinty thing that's like 0 to 32 is what it's asking for. So yeah, it's the same. So now that we've figured out that we are somewhere where we do care about where the user is coming from, we need to use this thing called list to figure out like now what physical address are we associated with. So it is used purely for emergency calling. So again, sort of some of this overlap with config. List is the only thing where we are dealing with, if I pop it up here, we're dealing with sort of some network metrics down the bottom there. If you are using them in other location-related places inside Teams, you will need to put those subnets in independently. That's what we're going to come on to in network settings. But they have a hierarchy, and I made a joke about it, that in PowerShell it is civic address and location. In TAC, when you look at this, it is addresses and places. So a civic address can contain one or more locations or places underneath it. And then underneath either the civic address, so you can, sorry, with the camera, you don't have to have a location. So these kind of metrics you can have, or indicators, you can have associated direct with the civic address if you want to, or you can have them with the location. The intention here is kind of if you imagine you've got like a very large building where you've got multiple floors, the address would be the building and the location would be the particular floor that the users are coming to. That's kind of the broad intention here. The stuff at the bottom there, that is how we can then identify automatically which of these addresses or places we are associated with. So first up, we have the Wi-Fi access point. That is done using the BSSID of the access point that you're connected to. Depending on who your wireless provider or vendor is, you may need to specify exactly the BSSIDs. Some you might be able to use wildcards to say like it's one of these with a wildcard asterisk on the end. In fact, let me pull that up there so we've got it all here. We can also look at the switch info via LLDP, which is Link Layer Discovery Protocol. That is supported on Windows, on Mac, but on Mac you do have to add an extra little agent to let it do the LLDP lookup. It's also supported on Teams Phone and on the meeting room platform, so MTROA and MTROW. What that will do is it will go and query the switch to find out information about which switch port it is plugged into and what the ID of the chassis of the switch is that you're plugged into. Now, depending on what your networking config is, you might be able to get down as granular for identification as the particular port, or maybe it's you've got, in your server rack that a particular switch is for a particular floor or for a particular quadrant of the building, and you can do it based on the switch level. And then kind of the broadest catch-all, if you like, is the network subnet there. So if we haven't matched on the network switch information, we haven't matched on the BSSID for the Wi-Fi, then we can at least worst case kind of put in the subnet. So it really depends on your organization which way you want to take this and how granular you need to be around narrowing down where a user is coming from. Now, hi. Yeah, so effectively it will match the AP first, and then it will match the ports, then the switch. Worst case, it'll do the subnet. So yes, it is. Hi.
Have you ever seen it where it matches the BSSID
No, because it does it in that order, because it'll match on the BSSID, it doesn't bother doing the other matches. It will only get as far as the subnet if the others haven't kind of made it through. Now, I had a customer who I was helping with a voice deployment recently. Like they were doing it all. We did some advice and guidance sessions, right? And one of them was around location, and they were having a debate about how granular they wanted to get with their location. So they had quite a large building, quite tall, and they were talking about being able to get down to the cubicle level in terms of identifying where the emergency call was being placed. And that was kind of okay because they had the switchboard information, they knew what they were looking at. But we were then starting to talk about, well, how many cubicles have you got in this office with like 10 floors on it? And it was like, I don't know how many thousand feet. It didn't kind of translate to me, but it was big, right? And they wanted to think about it. So I searched through the tech docs and couldn't find anything that talked about how many addresses and how many locations you needed. But there's got to be a limit on there. So I posted it in a little kind of back channel chat that we've got going on amongst a few people. And one of the guys, Eric, you probably know Eric, who's been doing the podcast stuff. Eric, if someone asks what the limits are, Eric will go and find them and test them and push them. So he wrote a little script that just sat there and generated locations and shoved them in through PowerShell. This screenshot shows that he got up to 1.6 million when it was taken. He stopped at 2.4 million. So it's probably safe to, if there was any outages a few weeks ago. So it's probably safe to say that there's not a practical limit. It's going to be like some Cosmo DB big number style limit that you've got here. But like, can you imagine managing and looking after that, right? Because you cannot open that in TAC. Like that is not going to work. You're going to have to use PowerShell to manage that and have some massive form of like, yeah. But then it turns out, right? We were talking to them and they're like, oh yeah, well on the floor plan for the buildings, we divide them up into quadrants. So we've got like a red, a blue, a yellow, a green, whatever Microsoft logo. So just debate about like different pros and cons of how you organize and look at it and what have you. But effectively, like it's two views on the same thing. So when you go to the emergency addresses, you've got your addresses, and then you can click into that and you can see your places, and you can then see your associated, subnets, APs, whatever it may be there. Or you can come into networks and locations, and you can see that I've got, across the top, those different elements of my APs, my switches, my ports, or my subnets, but you can then see which location it's associated with. So it's just like whether you're caring about looking at it address and what's associated with that, or whether you're looking at the network element and what's associated with that side of things. So the emergency addresses, if we have a quick look at this, we won't spend too long kind of going through it. But here we can hit add. We give a location a name. Very exciting one. We pick what location we are in. And then if you're in the US, I still find this hit and miss. I don't find that this works anywhere else. In theory, you can start typing out the address and it will autocomplete. And then you can kind of validate it. The thing that we need is the latitude and longitude. You can't add an address in without that being displayed. So you can see I've gone in and I've hit edit. This is, an address made up near me, but I've got the latitude and the longitude there. If the autocomplete address stuff doesn't work for you, you can go to Bing Maps, to Google Maps, whatever. You go and find where your location is, right-click on it, and that should let you copy out that location information to your clipboard and then paste it in here and then make sure it's got the right amount of digits on it. And you will see the little map display to just make sure that you have like got them the right way around and not crossed over, and you're not in the middle of the Pacific or whatever it may be. The interesting thing as well here is you'll notice I came in and I clicked edit, but none of these fields are modifiable. You can't change them. So once you've added an address and you want to update it or change something about it, you have to make a new version of that address with whatever information is different, and then you have to migrate everything over to it. So reassociate your subnets, your BSS IDs, migrate your users, your numbers that are associated with that, and push them over, and then delete whatever the old one is. So it's, it can be a little challenging. So you get a little help thing. Why can't I change my address? So if we come into here, have a look at subnets. Subnets is relatively straightforward. And you get the same view there. You can see that it's associated with this location. We know that because that's the way we came into it. Got our subnet at the top. We've got whether it's a v4 or a v6 address. If I go hit add, we can pick and change. And the other interesting thing that's kind of neat is we've got the ability to kind of bulk upload these. When you click on that, you'll see in the little flyouts that there's a link to download a CSV template for these. So you can do that, download it, fill it in with whatever information you want, and then push it back in. But if you're doing that, it's not too many steps to then wrap that in a little PowerShell wrapper and have some CSVs somewhere that you can maybe pull periodically and push in. That's part of that, like keeping it up to date and maintenance stuff. That's kind of level 0.5 of trying to make this process a little bit simpler. So the comment is that the subnet you put in is the network address. You don't put in a mask or a subnet mask in there because it actually looks for the calculated network address. Yeah. So it's the calculated value to match. Whereas in network location, the site state that is put up the raw subnet, or it might be. Yeah. And you can see like on the chassis ID and the BSS ID and stuff, effectively it's an empty text field. So that's why there might be, if you're finding stuff isn't matching quite right, do those logs, see what the client sees, copy that in there, and then modify it as you need. But again, all of these you can kind of do the little bulk upload thing. You can get the little flyout to download the template for them. Okay. So once we've got our emergency addresses up and running, the next bit was that network topology, right? So that was using purely the subnets to associate with a site and potentially with a region. So that is done in here. You can see the summary that I've got one site. I've got 2 roaming policies. I've got my trusted IPs are configured in here as well. So you remember that first hurdle, they're kind of buried a tiny bit in TAC because they're under topology. And then this bit here, trusted IPs. This is where I can see my trusted IPs for the tenant. We do have a network range on this one. This is, again, there's the consistency of all this configuration across these different items. And again, weirdly, I struggled with getting a match for this with one of my testings that I can see. So you can see I've got like 2 different versions of the same thing effectively, and one of them matched and one of them didn't. Again, do your logs and your testing. If we go to network sites, this is where we can see the specific site and the subnet associated with the site, and I do have a region associated with it up here. I can hit change, and I can add new regions in, and I can pick from regions that I've had previously, but again, doesn't really mean anything. It's just a nice way of you sort of seeing how stuff's organized. Subnets down at the bottom, I can hit add, and we've got IP address and range, and you've still got the ability to do descriptions. You can't do an import on this one. There isn't the nice little CSV for an upload. But again, if you've been playing with that and you've got some PowerShell to do some of the other stuff, or you can even ask Copilot to write you the PowerShell to do some of this stuff, that might be a kind of neater way to organize these things. But once we have got our subnet defined against our site, these are the 2 things that I was talking about for what do we want to do with an emergency call once someone has placed it, right? We've got the emergency calling policy, and we've got the emergency call routing policy. I don't have much information about those in the deck, but I did think we'd have a quick kind of look through them. Those are under voice and then emergency policies. And then we've got the UI at the top here that we have calling policies versus call routing policies. If we look at call policies, or calling policies, we've got on the little flyout here, this one's kind of important. This one is whether we are allowing the external location lookup to be done. That means that if our client doesn't get a match for any of the stuff that we've identified, do we want the client to go and talk to the operating system for the operating system to try and figure out where the user is located? So you might have seen that if you've had it configured in the Teams client, that when you go to the calling dial pad, there'll be like a little address displayed underneath, and it'll be either administratively assigned, and that means that we have matched against one of those lists locations, or it's like an address that the user can go and modify or verify if it's one that has come from Windows, or from Mac OS. But that is where it is looking at the different kind of metrics, like what are the nearby access points, or what network am I connected to. And once a user has entered them, the same iteration of the Teams client should remember when it goes back to the same location. But so what I mean by that is if you sign out, if you reinstall, if you're on a different machine, that's not stored centrally, but the client itself remembers, what address you put in at that particular time when you saw the same kind of location information. The notification mode I'll come to in a second when I'm back over by the pointer. You can have a disclaimer that will display across where the dial pad is, so you can have some custom information in there. And then we've got a number to dial for notifications and users and groups that we might want to notify when an emergency call is placed. If we have it on notify, that will be a Teams group chat message that will go to whichever users we've added in there, or to the group containing the users that we've added in there. But we can also do in here the ability to do two conferencing ins. So we can do conference in but you're muted, and we can do conference in but you're not muted. The important thing to note there is that will come as a Teams call, so it will, there'll be like a little emergency exclamation mark and a Teams call will come in. If you've got it set that you are muted, whoever the person that's joined that call can't unmute themselves. So it would only be the responder and the end user making the call. The building security or whoever it would be able to hear what's going on, but they can't contribute and can't kind of add extra directions or whatever may be. But then if you've got the unmuted, they need to be aware that they will be heard by all those parties on the call. Okay. Call routing policies. Add down here. In your call routing policy, super important, hidden away in here, is this tick box for do we want to allow dynamic emergency calling. So we might have set our trusted IPs, we might have set our lists, we might have made sure that we've got stuff down here around what constitutes an emergency number if I hit add. So you can see we've got what the emergency dial string is. So that would be 911. For me, that would be 999. The dial mask is what other numbers do we want to basically treat the same as this dial string. So that's where you would fill in your 112s, your 999s to make sure people traveling, whatever their local emergency number is, goes here. And we'll talk about PSTN usage in a second. But this one up here, if you don't have that toggled on, that isn't going to do any of that emergency location lookup stuff. It's just going to be when you associated the numbers into your tenant, if you're on calling plans or operator connect, it asks you to pick an address as you add the numbers in or as you allocate them to your users. That will be the address that is given out as part of the emergency call. If you want any of this kind of fancy schmancy stuff around, dynamically adjusting it, you need to have that turned on. So that's where, even if we're talking about having a specific policy here, if you're dealing with this stuff, you might want to make sure that your global policy has that dynamic toggle turned on, and then you can turn it off specifically for particular locations or sites or stuff if you want to. Kind of makes sense to, in my opinion, have that on at a global level. The other bit is the PSTN usage record here. So we'll talk about PSTN usages a little later on. But that is, when we have a call that is identified here by that dial string, which PSTN usage, which is how we associate specific SBCs, against how we're going to route the call. So which gateways are we going to send it to? And it might be that there are the same gateways that all your users' calls are going to if you're on direct routing, or it might be that you have particular extra configuration on certain SBCs to deal with handling the emergency call stuff, and you want to make sure you always route it to those SBCs. This bit doesn't particularly apply if you're on calling plans or Operator Connect because the call will go to whoever your provider is, and then your provider deals with that on your behalf. Any kind of questions before I pull out of TAC? Hello. Yeah. So network topology. Hold on to that. Okay, so back in here. So we did the demo. Okay, bonus information. 3 slides on bonus information for calling plans versus direct routing versus Operator Connect. You'll see that these become slightly lighter as we go through. If you're on calling plans, if you're in the US, if the location lookup is correct, then the call will be routed to the PSAP, which is the local answering point or responding point for the address that has been associated. If we didn't get a dynamic location lookup result that was validated, then we go to the ECRC to determine the location. It basically goes to an emergency call center for them to ask you where you are, for them to then pass it on to the right place. You can test this by dialing 933. So if you're on calling plans, dial 933, and you'll get a little read back, like validation of what location has come back. So even if you see it in the Teams client, do the 933 just to check that everything else is okay. If you're in other parts of the world, UK, Iceland, Canada, calls go to the ECRC by default before they're then passed on to the correct handler. Australia and Japan, these are partner-provided calling plan locations, so they deal with how they handle those calls. And in other locations, it goes to the static location that is associated at the time that you pull those numbers into your tenant or when you allocate them to your users. What do you do if 933 reads back the wrong address? Pull your logs out of the client and go through and figure out what matched, if it didn't match, where it matched, why it didn't. That feels like a trick question. No?
It's just complicated in the US. And
yeah.
If you're dealing with a third-party routing provider, address may say it's validated in TAC. It doesn't mean anything. You need to pre-validate the addresses with your provider before you put them in because you can't change them.
Yeah. So if you are on direct routing, you still want to configure all the team's location related. Sorry, hi. Is there a way to report what devices have got a list location versus something else location? No, because that's kind of like it's the device that does that figuring out, and then it sends it when the call is being made. So you would potentially just want to do a sample audit of your different devices in locations and check that they were correct. It's not like when they've got their location, they report that back into TAC and it's not recorded anywhere. It is, they hold on to that information, and that information is sent at the time that the call is placed. And that's where you can also see, not kind of a lag, but a delay. It should be that when the Teams client on whichever platform sees that its network conditions have changed, it should kind of go and reevaluate itself and pull that down. But you might see that you get a 5-minute lag where someone's come off Wi-Fi and onto wired before that kind of kicks in and updates itself. So if you're on direct routing, we still want to do all the Teams location stuff, but then we have to figure out how we're going to deal with that on the SBC level. So inside TAC, we want to configure either ELIN, which is kind of the old school way of doing things. That is where if you had ISDN, you could have an emergency call go out on a number that wasn't the user's number, and that meant when the responder rang back to that number, the SBC knew that that matched to whichever number the user was and kind of married them up. Or we've got PIDFlow, which is does anyone know what that is? Zach, you told me earlier you knew what that was.
I don't remember the acronym, but it basically inserts the exit.
No, I'm after the acronym.
Position, information, data, format, location.
Object. Close. Presence. There we go. So it's presence, information, data, format, location, object that I'm cheating and reading off my speaker notes. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's like the little bundle of location information that goes along, and that's where we need something on the SBC to then deal with that. But if you, again, don't turn that on in TAC against the SBC, that bundle of stuff won't go. So you can have all of that other stuff we've dealt with configured, and the SBC just goes, yeah, and doesn't do anything with it. There are 3 supported third-party services that will handle and deal with that location information on your behalf. So you have Bandwidth, Interado, and Cinch. They will, look at the status of the address, whether it's been administratively assigned, validated, whatever, and depending on what, relationship agreement you have with them, they may pass that to the ECRC that they run to determine, or they might pass it straight through to the right piece of. Yeah, so the comment, again, for the recording is that, like, on the SBCs of the service that you have, you do different things depending on whether we see that coming in and what have you. And then if you're on Operator Connect, basically it's the operator's problem, which is you still, again, do the Teamsy stuff to make sure that we're getting the right location information that we want to then feed to them, but then it's up to whatever that operator is doing to handle it. And some of them might do the similar sort of dial 933, and they'll tell you what information they're seeing come through. Alrighty. Call routing. We're nearly there on the first section. So why do we care about location for call routing? There are 2 things. The first one is local media optimization. It might be that we want to route the media from the end user to a particular SBC in an efficient way. The other is location-based routing or toll bypass, where we legally need to make sure that a call is breaking in and out onto the PSTN in a particular location. And we can also deal with your question from before around the network roaming policy to do with bandwidth restrictions on a client. So, quick recap for media bypass. Media bypass, well, when direct routing first came out, when you placed a call using your SBC, the media used to have to go from the client out to the team service and back through your firewall into your SBC and out. And that's not a very efficient way of doing it. So version 1 of media bypass included the public IP of the SBC, but it resulted in this thing called hairpinning, where the user kind of sends their request, the firewall goes, oh, hey, that's an IP that I own, turns it around and sends it back to however you were publishing that SBC over to Teams. Can cause firewall issues. You're including that firewall, and whatever throughput of traffic you're dealing with, it's having to pick that up and deal with it. So what LMO, local media optimization, lets you do is it allows you to, depending on the location of the SBC and the location of the user, and that's based off the network sites. You remember I said that LIS is purely emergency. We're done with that now. Network sites is the bit based on just the subnet, where we can kind of dynamically do some stuff here. So LMO is one of those things that we can include the internal IP address of that SBC as part of the candidate list for setting the call up. And we can even use proxy SBCs. So maybe if we've got a location, maybe this isn't actually in the same office, we've got a location where that SBC doesn't have good enough public internet connection to support a connection to Teams, but you've got ones in your data center that can, you can still kind of proxy that this is the one that's out talking to Teams, but when the user makes a media, makes a call, the media path goes to whatever that SBC is directly. So it's just a way of being kind of more efficient with where you're sending stuff around your network. So how do we do this? Trusted IP address, we figured that out already. Network settings, we kind of talked about that, is what site we are in. And then we need to deal with voice routes to figure out which SBC we are going to send the calls to. And then we have configuration against the SBC to talk about which site the SBC is in. So when you configure an SBC, you can in TAC go in and associate a site from the list of sites that we've created if we were already doing this for the emergency calling stuff. Bonus information, let's just kind of skip through this. This is just quite a nice diagram that I like to show when I'm talking to a customer about direct routing and call flows, about how this sort of stuff works, that I won't kind of read through it, but essentially you have an SBC that lives inside a voice route. The voice route lives inside a PSTN usage, and the PSTN usage lives inside the voice routing policy. The voice routing policy is what you associate to your users, and so you can kind of build these up if you want to. If you have more than one SBC in the same voice route, then it will round robin the calls against them. If you have them in a priority order in the same PSTN usage, it will always try and route the call to SBC A, and then it will route to SBC B if SBC A is not available. But on these voice routes, we have regular expressions set to say that, to match the voice route, the number that you're dialing has to match this particular pattern. So we can say, like, maybe, US calls will get balanced between these, and then international calls will only ever go to SBC-B. So again, kind of glossing over it a little bit, but I think it was worth just talking about it in here. So the SBC configuration, we need to match an SBC against a particular site. We need to make sure the media bypass is enabled, even if we're then going to do LMO. So we've got the little toggle box at the top there. And then we have the bypass mode. So we've got whether we're only going to bypass for local users or for everybody. So local users is going to be only users where they match the same site. So if the user subnet has matched against the same site that you've associated with the SBC, then we're going to allow LMO to happen. Otherwise, we will do the hairpinning or the out to the internet and coming back in again. Again, we've got the little PowerShell stuff down on the bottom here. The bypass mode is kind of interesting. That's what it's saying is for local users. Otherwise, it's always. That's your two choices there. Next one is location-based routing. So location-based routing, you would generally kind of deal with least cost routing, right? You want to break the call out for the shortest possible hop over the PSTN. But for legal reasons, you might be inclined to have to do most cost routing. So the classic example is in India, where you need to make sure that call ingress and egress is happening in the region that the user is making the call from. Again, that can be problematic in a team scenario where that user may be traveling, they may not necessarily be where they need to be. So you can kind of solve that using location-based routing. You need to enable that inside the user's calling policy. So there's a little toggle there, again, slightly confusingly named, given that the functionality is LBR, but it is that prevent toll bypass and send calls through the PSTN. It's basically like, don't do least cost routing, send it, like always send it out over the PSTN. We need to make sure that our site is enabled for LBR. So when we were inside TAC, we had those other policies that we configure in the toggle box. There's a toggle box there for location-based routing. We need to make sure that we have turned on. And then we need to make sure that the gateway itself has LBR enabled. So the screenshot we had on the previous slide, if we say, yes, we want LBR, we then get this option for LBR user override. And that means if the user isn't inside our organization, what do we want to happen for LBR? Do we want to treat it like a normal call, or do we want to force the location-based routing against it? Again, bonus slide, I'll just kind of pop all of this stuff up here. But this just kind of covers some of the edge cases. So like, well, what happens if the user signed in on multiple locations? It's determined per endpoint that the call is coming from as to whether it does LBR or not. It's not a user thing. It's a user and the device, and therefore the location thing. Remember, location is changing the configuration that we've got. What happens in things like transfers or group calls, there's kind of logic behind how all of these things operate in a different way. Another little bonus thing, it's not strictly a Teams thing, but the user object in Entra AD, thank you, has a country plan associated with it. If you have the usage location incorrect, if you're not set to UK and you're US, you can't associate a UK number against it. So if you're having some problems with that, make sure that you have them configured. Roaming policies. This was your question before. So roaming policy allows you to limit the amount of bandwidth available for a location. So when we are in a subnet that matches the site, it's kind of like CAC from the old days of Skype for Business, that we can say we are allowed to do video, and if we, what's the total media bit rate allowed? So if we've got locations that are on the end of a bit of string internet connection, we can kind of, limit that down a little bit, or we can turn off the ability to do video. Skippy through. Okay, call quality. These ones will kind of, go slightly faster. Again, the slides will be available for you to kind of get the full detail here. But call quality is it's not a practical reason that we want to have location inside teams. It doesn't affect anything. But when we are looking at the metrics and the analytics for how Teams is performing across our organization, it is really helpful to understand where the user has been making the call from. Because if the call is coming from a corporate location where they're on corporate network connection, decent internet, decent headset, all of that stuff, we will expect that call quality to be higher than if they're coming from, their own PC or a PC on a bad Wi-Fi connection without the right devices. So we want to kind of differentiate those things. So we can kind of use location to figure out if that is okay. And again, this is a slide that actually came from Link Conference 2014, 10 years ago, man. This is all part of the process of kind of helping set expectations with users, that if you're doing something really important, make sure you're in a good location and that everything's set up right, versus, if you just need to listen in on a call, maybe you do dial-in, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's all kind of part of the overall location quality. CQD, hopefully you've seen CQD if you played with CQD. If you haven't, really, really useful. The reason location plays a part in this is we can specify a whole bunch of information and upload it as either a TSV or a CSV, and if you do, there's no headers on that file. But this is the information that you would upload here. So we're back to our network IP, our name, our range, what building that is associated with, and you can see which of these are optional versus recommended. But we can specify things like the city or the state or the region. That means inside CQD, you can then filter on those things to say, show me what the US call quality looks like for locations that I know about, and sort of do that separation in your reporting. The other thing that you can do while we're in here is you can also do endpoint mapping, so a little bit of bonus information. There is the ability to specify extra information about your meeting room devices, so that when you're looking in CQD and call analytics, you can kind of determine what the device is or what the category of devices are. Not strictly location, but can be worth knowing about. Hi. The Learn Microsoft site has some stuff, but catch me afterwards and I can kind of point you at some things as well. Sorry, I'm aware that my time's kind of eroding away. Call analytics, it's the same data file as CQD, but you do need to enter it in a different location. You go into TAC and you put it under reporting labels. Planning, does anybody use planning inside Teams? No? No. So I'm going to jump through this because it's kind of, something that people used in the early days. It's not really that important now. The notion is that you kind of classify your users into personas, whether you do video, whether you do audio, whether you're a meeting room device, and then you can kind of map out your network and locations and say, is my bandwidth going to be enough in these places? Alexander has a script that you can use that will kind of push that stuff in programmatically because it's not officially available through PowerShell, so he's kind of done his hack the tack thing and capturing tokens and letting you smash stuff in as though you were doing it through the browser. So with that stuff being said, where can you get all of this information from? There's a lot of stuff that we've talked about that you might need for location information. We've got, the V4 ranges, the V6, the BSSID, the network ports, the region names, the subnets, the SBC information if we're doing LMO and LBR. If we're doing CQD, whose kind of building is it? Are we on ExpressRoute? Is this a VPN site? If we're doing bandwidth, limiting, what sort of WAN capacity and stuff, there is a whole ton of information. I don't have a good answer for you about, how to solve this. I kind of talked about it that, kind of almost wish a third party or, someone would kind of come up with a way of dealing with it. The closest you can get is there is a little tech community script if you're dealing with CQD that you can run. It will go out and query your Active Directory to pull out what the DHCP scopes are that are configured, and then you can kind of use that as a starting point. But really, we kind of talked about this. It's like, it's your networking team that you need to chat to, because hopefully they can pull information out of the switches and the firewalls, and then you need to kind of deal with that. The other problem you've got, though, is then where do you put it? Do you have a big old Excel spreadsheet somewhere? Do you use SharePoint lists? Do you push that into some form of Dataverse for Teams scenario? There's nothing kind of natively to help you with managing this, unfortunately.
There is one solution. We created a script for a couple of customers
watch this space?
Maybe.
Okay.
But it's a fairly easy script to do, and it also, I use the script also to make sure that I don't have network sites without location subnet or location subnet without network sites, because that becomes a problem.
Yeah. Okay, we're nearly there, I promise you. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1. So takeaways. Hopefully, have I made this better or worse about how you deal with location? Have I untangled this, or have I made it more complicated? But at least hopefully you can kind of see where the core components of this kind of come from and why you might use them. Remember that external IP, the trusted IP stuff, right? Because that's where it will all crumble, even if you've got everything else correct. Generally, I talk to customers who, actually this maybe isn't true now, because if you're in the US, you'll have done quite a chunk of this for E911, but usually starting to gather your data for CQD is a starting point with getting, a 70% chunk of that information that you can then apply to these other locations and figure out where you want to deal with it, but also figure out what sort of a process you're going to have to update and renew, and talk to the networking teams that when they bring new locations online, when switches break and they get changed out, that you have a process of pulling that through and pushing it into TAC. And again, this is kind of a little takeaway slide of where some of those different bits of location information are used. So which service uses the external IP, which service uses network settings, which stuff uses building data, etc., etc. And then the last bonus information, we got our pictures, is these are the links out to docs to go and kind of read up in more detail about all of these things. Yeah.
If you do load your network data in there and you decide to use third-party tools, whether it's Power BI, whether it's whatever else, it's good to do it both in CQD and in there, because Microsoft is pre-tagged in what's called records API. So just be aware that even though our would prefer to have it
Yeah. So it's like, even if you're using something else, get your CQD data in order, because it helps with the further processing down the line.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think we've kind of covered questions as we've gone along. Now, please don't immediately leave, because I have a favor to ask. We've got another question as well.
Yeah,
Sure.
just for basic media and location-based routing.
Yes. Yes. You don't worry about that, because you're not doing direct routing. It's similar to the, how does emergency calling work with Operator Connect? It's the Operator Connect provider's issue. If you're signed up with one of those Operator Connect for India-specific partners, still make sure you have your team's location and bits and pieces set up. I don't actually know what they will read or take to make sure they're dealing with it. But in theory, they should be handling most of that, unless you...
In India, the regulatory environment finally changed. It was now almost a year ago. They now have a universal virtual network operator's license, whatever it's called. So even one of them is Amazon signing, where they take care of all of the toll pieces to make sure things route within the country properly, so you can effectively get a sticky set from them to use the location stuff.
Yeah, but if I'm a user in India number and I'm going to the US for business and I'd like to call the local Indian computer shop, I wouldn't break the rules.
No. It's different for a native user versus a traveling user. Yeah.
Yeah, it's screwed. But
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's simplifying a lot.
Talk to your legal team. So again, please don't leave, but thank you very much. This is me. I'm Ben. I'm an IT pro from the UK. Been dealing with some of this fun stuff from the early days, like quite a few of the other people. You can contact me with any of the stuff down here. I'm not really on Twitter X that often, but you can find me if you need to, chat to me afterwards. There is a book that I contribute, a chapter around Teams devices and calling. That's refreshed every month with whatever the changes and updates are. I've done some stuff around MS700, and there is a series of videos for MS721 on the Empowering Cloud platform. So thank you very much for